widely considered the greatest Star Wars movie and one of the greatest movies in cinema history. Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, or simply known as back then The Empire Strikes Back. Um, I remember, I think this was like my fourth Star Wars movie. I hadn't seen Return of the Jedi yet. I'll get to it next week. I remember watching this. I remember watching this after watching episode 2. I had already watched episode 4 and this was my fourth Star Wars movie, and yeah, it's a I'm kind of ups and downs with the experience of this, and I was always like I didn't like. uh, I was still young and naive, so there was a lot of things about episode 5 I was not expecting. I didn't expect it to be as dark as it was. It wasn't like the dark in terms of you see the skeletal remains of Luke's uncle and aunt, or like in episode 5 it wasn't dark like Anakin killing children, but it was still having this dark atmosphere, the sense of hopelessness, like after New Hope, then there's the moment where there's losing hope. Like this was the climax of the battle. Like episode 4 was the rising action. Episode 4 was the climax. Sorry, episode 5 was the climax, and episode 6 was the falling action, the conclusion, the resolution of everything. And now, the writer of episode 5, Lawrence Kadishian, I'm pretty sure I pronounced that last name wrong, is going to be involved in the sequel trilogy. I think that was him or Lee Brackett. But yeah, like I said, this is good. This was written by those two guys, and I really did love this movie. It really like it takes place 3 years after the destruction of the Death Star. The Rebel Alliance have had to escape Yavin because eventually Yavin did fall to the Galactic Empire, as it was explained in Battlefront 2. But well, since the expanded universe is no longer canon, we'll never know how the Empire drove them off. But like they're now on Hoth, and everything kind of goes right for a while, and then Luke is lost out there in the snowstorm, and Han Solo has to go after him, and then like I laughed when Han Solo cut open the tauntaun. And I was surprised by the creature we saw. I forgot the name, but I recall it eating the tauntaun. Like I didn't see that coming. Like whoa, what kind of animal is that? It looks like a yeti, but it doesn't feel like it is a yeti. It looks like a cross between a yeti and a Sasquatch, if that's the best analogy. And I remember watching this. I was shocked to see it eating the remains of the tauntaun. Luke's hanging upside down, and like grab that lightsaber, man. You're a soldier, man. Like use the force or something like that. And like I was so excited. Like Luke cuts the arm off the Yeti Sasquatch. uh, oh man. Um, and Han uses the lightsaber to cut open the Tauntaun's guts, and I'm like, whoa, what is that? Like, I never really pictured the guts to look like that. I kind of expect like the human body type, like Tauntauns. Like I know animals have different types of bodies and how their organs are placed out, whatnot. But I wasn't expecting it to look like worms or something like that. And like I had to remember, this is also a practical effect prop. There was no CGI at this point, so I had to remember this is a practical item. And if this was now, this would be a CGI animal. But since George Lucas didn't direct or written this, probably would have been practical. But who knows? And then the Empire is coming for the Rebel Alliance, and they're forced to retreat. And there's this epic battle at the beginning of it, and they're forced to retreat. Uh, Han gives this goodbye thing that had George Lucas not had his way, Han Solo, this would have been Han Solo's last appearance, because Han Solo, I found out years later, was reportedly casually, like, I didn't find this out till like a year ago. That Han Solo casually told George Lucas at the red carpet showing that, hey, remember when I told you I wanted to get killed off? And, and like, I was like, you wanted to get killed? You wanted Han Solo to get killed off? Like, why? And Harrison Ford said, because he's one dimensional, whatnot, blah, 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 blah. And I never really thought that. I thought Han Solo was a well developed character. Like, initially, he was self centered and kind of a psycho and kind of a murderer since he killed Greedo, if those who still believe Han shot first, and those who are original copy version fans. But and like I said in episode 4 video, like, it never really bothered me. But like, and I hardly ever noticed any changes. Like, had they kept the scream Luke made when he made the fall, then I would have said, yeah, that was a change that should not have been added. But I'm glad they took it out of the 2004 DVD. So, because it gives Luke a sense of that, yeah, he willingly was going to throw his life away since he now feels like he has nothing, like he lost his arm. But I'm going too fast on this. Um, they had just escaped. They had escaped. There's this sense of despair going, and then they land in this asteroid field in space. And it's awesome. It's just so awesome. They're in space. The TIE fighters are following them, and they can't shoot for shit, and they can't get one hit on that giant Falcon, and they're crashing, and then they land and hide somewhere, which turns out to be a giant worm, and Han and Leia kiss beforehand. And here's the thing about that scene when Han and Leia kiss. My mind just zoned out from that. I completely have forgotten about that scene until I saw a scene from Marchiello's channel that's on YouTube. I completely zoned out of that scene. Like, the only scene I remember. In fact, I kind of also forgot Leia kissing Luke, and considering how awkward that goes later down the road, yeah. And to be honest, I kind of forgot about those. My mind just zoned out of those two scenes. It's like my mind just wasn't there at the time. So I don't know what happened. That or George Lucas censored those scenes out. But, well, how should I know? But I could just watch them. And oh, now I remember the beast. It's called a wampa. Yeah, now that was it. And Obi-Wan's spirit is trying to contact Luke, trying to tell him go to Dagobah and to train under the Giant Master Yoda. And had I not watched the prequel trilogy, I still would not have been surprised that was Yoda, in my opinion, because when I think of Yoda, I'm thinking of this all-wise and powerful Jedi, but I never really thought big and strong and a warrior-like. Like, since at that time, I always had this belief that people all comes in shapes and sizes. Like, I had learned of King Tutankhamun. He was like 9 years old when he took the throne of Egypt. So, why can't this Grand Jedi Master look impressive? Be an impressive person. And it was Yoda, this little green Frank Oz puppet. And to this day, I'm still surprised that this was the practical effect puppet, and it's such a great puppet. And not compared to the one in episode 1, which looked like horribleness. Thank God they replaced it with CGI. But and it felt like I was looking at two different eras. Like, Yoda in this movie was so funny, so full of life. And then when he revealed himself as the Jedi Master, he took on this wizardly-like appearance, saying, "I cannot teach him. The boy has no patience. He will learn patience." Or was I any different when you taught me? Though that's hardly debatable since Liam Neeson taught Obi-Wan, but that's a completely different story. Um, and also I'm surprised they never talked about Anakin in this movie like a lot. And then we saw the Emperor, and call me naive, call me dense, but I didn't put two and two together who Palpatine was at that time. I didn't know who Palpatine was, so Yeah, I was that gullible. So, yeah. And that was before episode 5 came out, so I didn't know who Palpatine was. And so I just assumed this new Emperor character was new and fresh, and like we saw who really puts the leash on Vader, who controls him, and and I saw both versions. I think back in I think I did see this film once in a scene. Like after episode 1 came out and episode 4, I might have seen a scene where we saw the old version of Palpatine where he's covered heavily in makeup and whatnot and having those dark eyes of his. I don't really remember, but I do recall seeing something like that, I think, on TV. And once again, I was like, wow, what's with those eyes? Like, those eyes are just stealing your soul. That was my initial thought. Like, those eyes are stealing my soul. And then we saw Ian McDermott, and it's just the Emperor. There's nothing really threatening about him in this image. He doesn't look like he's stealing your soul. He just looks like he's gonna creepily stalk you, which I can just punch him in the face for. But that was just my initial thought when I saw the Emperor in both versions. And and then meanwhile Han and the group Leia escaped the giant worm, Tartunic. Yeah, I know the name. I'm that into Star Wars. Oh man. And let's see. And then we saw the appearance of bounty hunters like IG-88 and Boba Fett. Now, I was still a kid. I didn't put two and two together at that time who Boba Fett was, like the kid and the guy now. So, like, I didn't put two and two together when I was young, but now that I know, I was like, okay, he built something out of himself after Mace Windu killed his father and was not repentant about it. And this was before the Clone Wars series happened, so yeah, I'm still mad that Mace Windu never really apologized for that since, well, Jedi's are supposed to forgive. But no, and Yoda, okay, now what I'm about to say might be criticized, but the whole do or do not, there is no try when Yoda is teaching Luke, I never got that. Like, wait, how can you not be doing something if you're not trying it, but this is the thing called opportunity. You're supposed to grasp for that opportunity. Like, nothing's a guarantee in life and Yoda is saying do or do not. There is no such thing as try. I just felt like that's very Sith-like. Like you just coded that with 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 wisdom words, and you wanted to make it look like it wasn't Sith-like. Since later on it would be said only a Sith deals in absolutes. And wait, but isn't the same thing Yoda said kind of the same thing? So basically, is Yoda a Sith or oh god? I created a time paradox. Like that was always my thought. Like, I'm pretty sure that stands for absolution. Like like that always confused me. So I never really got that part. And Yoda is teaching Luke about the ways of the Force. Meanwhile, Han and the crew, having escaped the Tartunic and the asteroid field and the Empire, for now. They land on Bespin, the clouds, the city in the sky, and they meet Lando Calrissian. And even as a kid, I just, since we never knew this guy in episode 4 and we haven't established him yet, and he just shows up and they're trading some exposition back and forth of how they knew, how Han and him know each other, I instantly already knew he's going to betray him. What do I know? What do you know? He betrayed him. And yeah, I wasn't that shocked by it, by Lando's betrayal. I kind of saw that coming. And here's another thing. I kind of zoned out again for some reason when Vader stucks out his hand and grabs the gun and says, "We would be honored if you would join us." It's like my mind just was in so many different places when I saw that scene. Like I can't remember it when I looked at it now back then. But and I always wonder what kind of conversation did they have? Like there's a segment on Robot Chicken that does it, that does a scene like that, which is extremely awkward. But yeah, and then there's that, and I always wonder what did they talk about. I'm always curious to know what they talked about, like the terms of their surrender. Well, they were captured, so there is no concept of surrendering. Were they gonna get tortured? Well, Han was tortured for no reason. They didn't even have a reason. They just said torture him because, well, because we could do it. I'm crazy like that. But and meanwhile, Luke is training training with Yoda, and Yoda gives him this badass line of saying, "This is why you failed." And I was like, "Wow, wow, that was a major burn. You just got burned big time. Like there is no bigger way to feel humiliated after that." And eh, and Luke sees a vision of Han and Leia in pain, and really, unless Leia was in emotional pain, then that would make sense. Just Han was in pain. Leia was, well, went out was just emotionally pained, but that's just it. And then I always wondered the part where Yoda says, "No, there is another," and I was wondering, well, where's this gonna go? Like, and even then, I didn't know what was going on at the time. I didn't watch Return of the Jedi yet. I said I was going to watch that after I saw Episode 3 because it only felt right. And, well, I had heard the story of Anakin and whatnot, and I always wondered what. No, there is another. Like, that kept escaping me. And even after when I saw Return of the Jedi, I still wondered who the other person was. Because they made this sound so big important, but in Return of the Jedi, they didn't really make it sound important. Afterwards, they just said there was another, but that was it. They didn't do anything about it and whatnot. So, anyways, Han is captured. They're gonna cryogenically freeze him in suspended animation and carbon freezing him in the carbon machine. And Vader says, "I'm altering the deal. Pray I do not alter it any further." And then, and I never noticed this scene up until Chris Stuckman made a review about Empire Strikes Back. When Lando clutches at his shirt and he pulls it on it a bit, I just noticed. Wait, did Vader give him a tug of the force grip? He did, didn't he? Wow, how have I not noticed this in all those years I watched this? I've never noticed that. So subtle. I mean, like, if this movie was made now, then yeah, it would be very, very obvious. Just so subtle. So, and then Han says, "I know," when Leia says, "I love you," and he's frozen. And this is the part where Han reportedly broke character offset one time and said, "Kill me now! Kill me, kill me, kill me!" It's been a while since I last read that report, but Han wanted to get killed off in this, but Harrison wanted to die in this scene. He wanted his character Han to be killed off in this, and considering how his role in Return of the Jedi was, you could easily cut him out. But yeah, we wouldn't have Jason, Jaina, and Anakin Solo in the expanded universe. So thank God George Lucas said no to that. And then you saw Boba Fett, and I did say, yeah, his helmet looks like that of a clone trooper. And then it never really went away. Like, Boba Fett made two lines. Like, as you wish. When Vader says no disintegration, and the other line was taken to the cargo bay of the ship. And that's pretty much it. I never really understood the ultimate badassness of Boba Fett. Like, okay, he's a dangerous bounty hunter since Vader says no disintegration, therefore I know your reputation. This is why don't do it. And so I never really got this vibe of how popular Boba Fett was until like way later. I actually felt more sorry for him than I actually feared him as a character. So there's that. And lastly, we see the epic confrontation between Lord Vader and Luke Skywalker. And it's so awesome, so well good, so well done, so filled with emotion, and there's no song playing at the beginning. Like, that's just like an, okay, we're in an eerie scene. This is kind of tense. Okay, let's be honest, this is effed up. Wait a second, why am I even in this scene? Why did I sign up for? And Luke puts his gun down, and I noticed that years later, when I saw this, like, I kind of forgot about the gun. He realized he's not going to need this. He didn't need a lightsaber, and Luke's coming in with overconfidence, feels like he can beat Vader, and and now and then there's the duel, and Luke is being overpowered by Vader. It's just so good. And then we got the biggest plot twist in cinema history, and this is before episode 5, and I hadn't put two and two together. Vader was Luke's father, Anakin. I was shocked by that. Though, when I looked at it, I was like, wait. You mean, at the time, had the Clone Wars series not been made, I would have said, wait, and Revenge of the Sith as well. Wait, you mean to tell me that whiny little baby was Anakin Skywalker's Darth Vader? What? You're supposed to make me believe this methodical badass is the same guy that slaughtered Tusken Raiders and killed children, and I'm supposed to believe that? Okay, but now I would say, yeah, I totally buy that. And Luke basically commits suicide. Like, in the 1997 special edition, they added a scream, which I felt was unnecessary, and thank God that wasn't in the 2004 Blu-ray editions. But so this would have been a very noticeable change. But other than that, they really didn't change anything for for the special editions. For the later editions they made, they never really changed as much. They just added outside interiors, exteriors, some more environments, more buildings. That's it. If they had done that with episode 4, that was it, no one would have complained. Or and whatnot. But and Luke loses his hand, and then we get this hint that Leia might be the second person that Yoda and Obi-Wan were talking about, and they get rescued, and Luke gets a robotic hand out. And there's this scene, two scenes I always felt very confused about. One, Lando, why are you wearing Han Solo's clothes? And shouldn't you be strangling you for that? And like, even though you did save them and yet failed to get Han back, even though it is kind of your fault, why are you wearing his clothes like you're his replacement? That's not gonna work. And if Han Solo did die that day, yeah, no one would buy you as his replacement. So, and then there's and then they're like showing the end scene where Luke is holding on Leia and R2D2 and C3PO are looking out. I was always wondering, wait, are they outside the galaxy? If so, how do they get out? Like, you don't know how far the galaxy goes, from what I know. Like, at the time, like, even then, I was still a kid. I was like, wait, but they're outside the galaxy. How do you know you're outside the galaxy? Like, space is virtually endless. How do you know you're outside the galaxy? And how do you... Wait. And the galaxy's always moving, albeit very, very slowly if you really think about it. Or, as far as I know, very slowly. So, how did you get back? Wait, why didn't you do this before? If you could establish a base outside the galaxy, then wouldn't that make more sense to establish a base there in space? Then, like, strike from the shadows? Oh, wait, considering how in the expanded universe that's considered a cowardice move and a Sith move, so what do I have to say? Well, this movie was just awesome. This was like my favorite Star Wars movie. It was my first favorite Star Wars movie. The second one, and I can't believe I'm saying this, was Revenge of the Sith for me. The second one was Revenge of the Sith, considering how dark that was. Like, yeah, I know it had its problems. It's not like episode 4 and episode 6. I'll get to episode 6 next week. But episode 5 was just so great. It was awesome. Everything about it was Star Wars. And and it's so practical and whatnot, and how mystic was it, and all this mystique aura was it, and that we wouldn't get these answers until like later on, and like it was so awesome. And seeing Vader beat himself as badass Sith Lord and the Emperor, and seeing all these other guys, seeing Obi-Wan back, Boba Fett, Chewbacca, R2-D2, Darth Vader, C-3PO, Lando, Leia, Han, and Luke. They were all great. It was so great to see them, and this movie was so fantastically well done. And then there's episode 6, which people now kind of on a certain group of creatures that I will get to when I get to it, and I will tell you that there was something that was originally planned for the you know what, but that was originally going to happen, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. Well, everyone, this was Neo Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate, and stay tuned for more.